Smorgasbord Radio Show.
Hello, this is Chris, and this is the SmorgShow Radio Show. We call it the SmorgShow Podcast for short, but I didn't save any syllables because I said both versions, a long version and a long version. Yeah, you know what I'm saying here. Waiting for my friend to arrive. Oh, I put the wrong one on here. I guess you're arriving on a tractor this time. There he is. Come on in, Jerry.
Hey, you crazy kukala, you. Oh, hold on a second. This is very uncomfortable on this tractor here.
That's what,
The vibration. Ooh. Ooh.
yeah. Okay, thanks, guys. Jeez. Hey, check that motor out.
Yeah.
Welcome to the SmorgShow Lounge, Jerry. Good to see you back here. You
It's,
didn't leave, actually.
No.
You've been here since last week. You haven't
Yeah.
moved out of that chair.
Yeah, I'm just sort of stuck in here now.
Welcome to episode 107.
Yeah.
We're quickly approaching that 200 mark.
Oh, yes. Just right around the corner.
Just another 10 years away.
Yeah.
I will be 65 when I hit
Well,
the 200.
hey. But here's something to look forward to. But I mean, I remember when we had the previous few podcasts when you were shooting for the 100th, and you were like, "Oh, we're so close to the 100th one."
Yeah.
And now you're past it.
We're past it. It's almost, yeah.
Yeah, it's Chris. You know what? You're past it.
I'm past it. We had a good episode 100 in the barn. That was a fun episode. That was a retrospective. If you ever want to start somewhere and figure out what the show is about, start with 100.
Sounds good.
I wouldn't start with, you don't want to go back to episode 1. You really don't.
Really? Is it that bad?
Well, it's not bad. It's just we didn't know what we were doing.
Well, sometimes that's makes it interesting.
It was recorded in our kitchen.
Well,
And I thought, we'll put out a couple of these and see how it goes. And it was recorded on just a little MacBook and Radio Shack microphones. And one thing led to another, and here we are.
Were you using your Radio Shack disco mixer?
My disco mixer, it's right back there, actually,
That's
on the
right.
shelf. Yeah.
I think you're going to be buried with that thing. It'd be right on.
Yeah.
Your hands would be crossed across your chest in the position in the.
Yes.
I got a whole thing in my head. The whole picture is that you'll be in a coffin, and then be that, and then you'll be in your suit, and then it'll be the disco mixer. I'm taking. Actually, your arms will be holding it as you're being released.
So in your mind, I've gone first.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll be in spirit form hovering over the whole thing. Oh, I knew he was going to be buried with that thing.
You're right, though.
Yeah, it'd be like, it'll be like that scene from The Jerk with Steve Martin. All I need in the world is my disco mixer.
Just keep a microphone in there, a live, hot microphone, just in case.
Yeah, you never know.
In case they got it wrong.
And he broadcasting from the grave.
That's right.
That'll be the 200 episode. It's like, I'm
Fred Moore's
broadcasting
worst nightmare.
Oh no.
Well, there
He's
you go.
back.
In my dream, Fred Moore outlived me.
Well, there you go. That would be
Fred Moore, our radio teacher from high school, who started this whole thing for me.
Yeah, you can blame him. You can blame him.
Yeah. So we're going to be taking the show on the road. I have no idea how this is going to go. So our good friend and radio partner, Smorgasbord co-host Dave Jackson, will be on this episode somehow. We're going to make this work. He was not able to come out to the studio today because he is lining up some sort of an interview with
A blues guy.
What's his name?
John Primer.
Yeah.
And I believe he was the guitar. Yeah, he's the guitarist, one of the guitarists for Muddy Waters in his last band that he put together before he died.
That's cool.
I guess so. I really wasn't following Muddy Waters' career back then.
No?
No, can't say it was. But I did meet many years ago when I went to the Kingston Mines, I ran into probably the original piano player for Muddy Waters, Pine Top Kirkins. I bought him a drink.
You did?
Well, he asked me to buy him a drink, and I did. So.
Yes, you've heard.
Yeah, well, but he deserved it. He's a blues legend, okay?
I would have bought him a drink.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be a jerk about it. I'm not going to not buy a blues legend a drink. What do you think, I'm a communist or something?
Well, Dave supposedly got this interview lined up, and he said that we could actually put it on the podcast. So I guess we'll allow some time at the end here. If we have an interview, we're going to smack it on. But otherwise, we're going to be doing something remotely. I don't know what it is. I've got the remote podcast equipment. We're going to go on the road. So that's coming up on this episode, one way or the other. You're going to hear from Dave.
Yeah.
Don't know exactly how it's going to work.
And hopefully it'll be more than remotely entertaining.
Yeah. So we are just kind of kicking it off in the studio before we take it on the road. What I'd like to do actually is take a break here, and it is fall. By the way, I picked Jerry up from work tonight, and major lightning storm going on outside here. We're trying to get some recording in here before the power goes out, because I wouldn't be surprised if we get struck and the whole thing goes out, and it's just going to be Jerry and me in candlelight for tonight.
Not holding hands, though.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Well, no, that's true. That's true.
So we are quickly approaching.
By the way,
yeah.
Is it fall or autumn? What is considered the proper Queen's English way of? It's probably autumn, right?
I would think it's autumn.
Yeah.
The autumnal equinox.
Is equinox? Okay.
Yeah. Equal time.
Oh,
day and night.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Equinox.
We're only a couple of weeks away from that. And my birthday is coming up. I'm going to have you and Dave out to the house for a birthday celebration. We'll do something later October, I would think. But speaking of fall, I thought I would maybe play this. We haven't heard this one in a while on the Smorg Show. Philip Donald. Remember Philip? We had him out at the episode 100.
Yeah, no.
He's kind of working on his second album. We're still waiting for that. But here's an old one from him, a rare one. We've only played it, I think, once on this show. It's his tribute to fall. Let's play this and we'll come right back on the Smorg Show podcast.
Ooh, yeah.
This morning when I awoke and rubbed my eyes, I thought, what a beautiful day. It's the first day of fall and my trees have orange leaves. Thank you, Mother Nature, for this day. Pull out all the jackets, it's a low of 46. It's again that time of year, and it's getting chilly. Get the scarves, gloves, apple cider too. Signs of autumn are in the air. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure, where's Purdy?
We're going to move into the lounge area here in the studio. You can't see this, but we actually have 4 microphones in this studio now, and we could just move around and just get comfortable. So I'm going to get comfortable. We did this before. Probably won't do it now. I put on some jazz music, and Dave just kind of chilled. But I don't have any jazz music handy, so let's just go right into it. Yeah, I'm gonna move. Go ahead.
There we go. How you doing, everybody? How you doing? It's that time in the podcast where Chris moves to another microphone, and you can hear him adjusting his seat and getting comfortable.
I'm a little hot right now. Let me turn it.
It's a little hot in here.
It's a little bit funny.
But that's how it
All
goes.
right, there we go. That's better.
There it goes.
So what do you have for me, Jerry? This is your show. You
really?
take it in the direction you want to go.
Well, actually, just really quickly. Oh yeah, you said that we were talking about something but that's for another podcast. But this one, well, I think we're going to talk about a couple of things that happened to me over the summer. And it was a very interesting summer for me. But I work, well, there's something that happened at work, and I work for a library out in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. The northwest suburb is called Mount Prospect. So I work for the Mount Prospect Public Library. And they have, and I think this happens not with just libraries, but with schools and kind of the more public institutions have this sort of thing. They have a staff institute day. So it's kind of a day where, you know, they'll have like, well, first of all, have a kind of a general staff meeting. That usually happens towards the end of the day. But then they'll have usually a presentation in the morning with some speaker. You know, in the past, it's been like, you know, how to be a better librarian or how to deal with the public or just different things. Maybe sometimes it's just about more general topics that aren't specifically library oriented. But this one, and then there's some activities they do in the afternoon that I guess are kind of considered fun and entertaining and educational or whatever the heck. But in the morning they have these programs, and the program they had this past, I think it was probably May. Yeah, there it is, May 17th. Excuse me. Still have some of the Oktoberfest beer in me.
Yeah.
Was a program called, it says Mount Prospect Public Library in Service, Cultural Competence and Implicit Bias. And that's coming from the ALA, American Library Association, Office for Diversity, Literacy, and Outreach Services.
You have an office for that?
Well, I mean, the library doesn't.
Does?
No. But the American Library Association.
American Library Association does.
Let's not paint with too broad a brush here. But I don't know. There's certain words that pop up. They call, you know, we were talking about this today, catchphrases and buzzwords. And once you hear them, it's like, ooh, I think we know where this is going. And I think if you hear something like cultural competence and things like diversity, I think we're going down a certain direction. And it's kind of and it's kind of a direction that kind of leans to the left. But anyway, and then the thing about this is that they had these two people kind of talking about these subjects. But the thing is, and what I found very frustrating about it is that the whole thing to me, especially in describing these concepts and subjects, so much of it sounded like word salad. In other words, it sounded like something was being said or something profound was being communicated, but you couldn't figure out, for the life of you couldn't figure out exactly what they were getting at, what they were saying. Like, I mean, I'll kind of go through this booklet because I was reading the beginning of the booklet here, the front page. But there are a lot of things that are talked about. And one of the things that was talked about is, here it says, here's the objectives. So the objectives and the group agreements, which, anyway, I'll read them out to you and you can give me feedback as to whether they make sense to you or you can understand where they're coming from with these.
So are these guidelines of like
what the presentation was? Yes.
Okay.
The objectives, it starts out with ground everyone in culture as a concept and a common definition.
So we're trying to level the...
I don't know what we're trying to do.
What are we trying to do here?
That's the problem. When these things are... When these things are presented to me, I'm like, okay... Could you expound upon that? Because I am not understanding one thing you're saying.
Okay, keep going. I want to see where they're going with this.
Begin to recognize your own cultural identities. Again.
Begin? Why? Okay. That's the assumption that you haven't been up until this point.
I guess I wasn't aware of my cultural identity, but they're going to help me recognize it, I guess. Build awareness of implicit bias. I guess we all have some sort of implicit bias, which, I mean,
sure.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. I mean, yeah, we've kind of grown up. We were talking today about like stuff that like maybe your parents and some of the stuff that they said and thought, and that kind of gets wedged in your head a little bit. So that can kind of, it's not just the parents, but just other experiences in your life can kind of, put certain things in your head that maybe aren't the most open-minded. But we'll go on. It's a build awareness. Oh, that's where it's okay. And then explore ways to disrupt those biases.
So break away from your traditional
Mindset.
Foundation mindset. Yeah.
Maybe. Or, and also, I know it sounds weird to say this because we kind of are can I say trained to think that the word bias is automatically a bad thing, but is bias automatically a bad thing? I mean, I have a bias against people who would, rob other people.
No, it's not a bad thing.
Well, it can be and it can't be. I'm just saying it's one of those things that depends on how you how you're specifically
sure. I mean, I'm in the market research industry, and bias is something that you try to eliminate in market research studies.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like I said, it's not only just the fact that it's really kind of hard to break this stuff down and to really kind of get at what they're trying to say because it is so ambiguous. And then you're like, you say, well, maybe they mean this and maybe they mean that, but you're never really sure. And when I was going through the whole kind of exposition, it's been a couple of months, obviously. It's now late September. This started this was middle of May. So my memories of the actual event are a little bit foggy, but one thing I remember is you just couldn't, other than the fact that it seemed like the way we did things in the past, there was somehow something wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
There was that we should recalibrate, reinvent our minds, reinvent the way we see things, because somehow what we saw in the past or how we approached things obviously was filled with implicit bias or something.
Sure.
I mean,
so did they give any sort of examples to go along with these bullet points to kind of?
They did, but you got to remember this was a number of months ago.
This months ago, yeah.
And again, to me, those examples were almost as ambiguous as the actual. You read the statements.
Yeah.
You heard the statements. I mean, you have to it's like. If I ever make a statement like slavery is bad, I mean, you wouldn't have to think about it. You wouldn't have to break down, okay, is slavery bad?
You don't know where this is going. You don't know if it's
there's nothing.
Should I agree to this?
Yeah, I mean, you feel kind of disoriented when you hear this stuff because you're not sure where to. I mean, first of all, you're trying to figure out what something like culture as a concept and common definition. I mean, okay. I mean, is culture really a concept? I mean, did somebody all get together? We're all going to have a culture now, and this is the concept behind. I mean, no, I don't. But anyway, but I wanted to do a group agreements here because this is also kind of interesting.
Okay.
Be present. Bring all of yourself to the discussion. Set aside distractions. Well, if you're a polite person, you would do that anyway. So I don't. Really,
yeah.
Everyone is invited to speak. Well,
except.
Well.
We disagree with this.
Well, pretty much. But everyone, of course, everyone is invited to speak. They put an emphasis on invited.
Oh.
I would thought they would put one on. I thought they would put the emphasis on everyone, but that's practice self-awareness. Okay, that's not a bad idea. Everyone is responsible for this place. Or no, this space.
Sure.
Okay. Trust people's lived experiences. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying is that...
Yeah, I just don't know what they're trying to get out of this.
I don't know either. But we have key terms and definitions. We have equity, which is one of the definitions. Equity is not the same as formal equality. Formal equality implies sameness. Equity, on the other hand, assumes difference and takes difference into account to ensure a fair process and ultimately a fair or equitable outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess that when they're talking about equity, is that they want you. It's like equality, but with cultural sensitivity or something along those lines. Is what I'm getting out of this. Is like, well, I want to treat this Hispanic person, this white person equally, but I have to take in consideration the Hispanic person's lived experience and their cultural background, or blah 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 blah, into the equation. So I can't just look at them as two people that I could see is equally human and is equally, deserving of respect. You have to take in all these other factors, which to me, again, muddies the water. That's one thing. Then we have diversity, which is a buzzword we've been hearing quite a bit in the past few years. I mean, it's just everywhere. Because we've got to get the diversity quotas up. We've got to be more diverse. We've got to make sure it wouldn't happen normally or naturally. We get the diversity. We have to work at getting diversity. That's the one thing I find kind of weird.
Well, even at my company, we've got a new CEO that's really into, diversity. And that's fine. Diversity sounds nice, but it's almost like he wants like every level in the company to have equal representation or proportional representation based on the demographics out there.
Right.
So you have to have a percentage of women and percentage of minorities. But are you hiring that way? So are you interviewing that proportion? Are you just putting people in those positions so that you have a balance at every level? Or are you really putting people in the position who could do the job properly?
Right. I mean, it gets into that, and was kind of the problems that we had initially with, or over a while it became an issue with, because there were
affirmative action.
Affirmative action.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was trying to think of the term, affirmative action, which in essence, if you go back into the days when they would exclude minorities, especially black people, out of positions, it did seem like a good idea at the time. But as time goes on, it becomes enshrined as an institutional concept that we always must have this, and we must always make sure that this many people of this background, doesn't matter if they're interested in the particular job or the particular, it doesn't matter if, like, for example, one of the big things that they talk about is that there are not enough women in the STEM fields, science, technology, electronics, mathematics, I think, or something like those, or engineering, mathematics.
Yeah.
The thing is, they don't take into consideration that women see the world a certain way and then men see the world a certain way, and their approaches to everything from problem solving to the things that they're interested in making a career out of in their life. I mean, just all that kind of the various spectrum of that. Not taking that into consideration, say, well, all right, we have 50% women, 50% men. And so we say in the world. So we must, if we look at the STEM fields, it must be 50% men, 50% women. Otherwise, it's not equitable, And the thing about it is, going back to the equity thing, there's actually some other stuff in here. I didn't want to get into because we could go all night about this stuff. But the thing is, or being equal, it's all got to be. It's got to measure, like you were saying, it's got to measure that. It's got to reflect the demographic, whether or not it reflects reality in and of itself.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, there's some other things there: inclusion, cultural awareness. Now, this is an interesting one. Being cognizant, observant, and conscious of similarities and differences among and between cultural groups. Wasn't that just being freaking aware?
Yeah.
Do you need to put a cultural thing? Well, here's the one I like even the best. One called cultural humility.
Oh, that's a new one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're coming up with...
wow.
They're coming up with them fast and furious. Cultural humidity. Yeah, that too. It's getting hot in here, that's for sure. No, cultural humility entails a lifelong commitment to self-evaluation and self-critique. So it means that you reflect on your life and what you I don't know. Anyway, to correcting power imbalances and to developing mutual beneficial partnerships with communities, means that we hold ourselves accountable for our own assumptions and biases.
So I'm sorry, set the stage again. What were they doing? So this is a monthly meeting?
No. It's not a monthly meeting. This is something they do like once a year.
Once a year. Okay. It's not an ongoing thing. So
God.
And you've been doing this for several years? And what were some of the topics in the past?
Well, like one was like how to be a black belt librarian. So how to deal with, problem situations,
Wow.
with what you call it, patrons. I'm sorry.
Yeah, people who come.
People who come to the library, the ones
All
that
right.
help pay my salary, but not just that. But there were things of like 1 year they talked about like safety, especially like
Okay.
breaking in.
I can
your
see
home.
that.
So you had somebody from the police department. Another thing maybe about fire safety, and then another thing about maybe just kind of more generalized topics that this thing. And I should give a little bit of background on this because I've been kind of following this kind of cultural sensitivity, PC culture, social justice warrior milieu since basically 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am openly admit that I'm a YouTube addict, and one of the things I do is I spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos, and I see a lot, and basically you kind of see the trajectory of this kind of strange swing to this very, I would say, very left wing, very uber progressive. I mean, progression for progressiveness' sake, not necessarily whether it actually makes sense or if it's good for the future of society. But it's like we just got to do this. We, like you said, like what your boss at where you work. It's like we just have to have, we have to meet these quotas. We have to prove to people that It's like there's this term called virtue signaling, which means you're going around saying, "Look, I'm open. I'm tolerant. I'm culturally I have cultural humility, whatever."
Uh-huh.
And it just gets into it. It's the results, but not how you get there. In other words, the end. It's like the end tally. It's like, well, we have 50% women here, and it's like, well, did you get 50% women because these were actually women that were very much interested in working for the company and doing those, or was it you just shoving women in there and hiring women just so you'd have that end result?
Mm-hmm.
I see we've hired 50% women in this category, and there's 50% men, so we are not being discriminatory against women. It's like,
right.
But would you have been discriminatory against women if you just put the call out there for somebody to fill a position and you didn't really care, and it just ended up that more men ended up going for that position than women because maybe women were going in a different direction because their career goals were different? Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You've got to have the end result. It's like the end result's more important than how you got there.
That's right.
So, and then, I do one more thing is cultural competence, the
Uh-huh.
skills, knowledge, and awareness of yourself in your interaction with others. That's another one. And there's implicit bias too. But we won't.
So was there any sort of breakout session after
Oh, there
this?
were.
Yeah,
There
to talk
were.
a little bit about how...
Talk about things like implicit bias or how that may have felt if they, well, like one of the things they talked about, or they had a thing where if you felt like you were probably made more to feel like the other because of things like, how people reacted to your cultural background or your, maybe your appearance or whatever. But one thing they talked about, they had this example video that they had from Ellen, I think, and she was talking to some prominent actor, entertainer, whatever, who had a name that was, I think South Asian or something, and he was complaining how people just couldn't understand how to say his name, and it's like it should be, people know how to say Johnson and this and that, and it's like, again, it seemed like the thing was the video itself seemed like it was taken out of context because it's like, yeah, you come to a country where most of the people that originally came here and set up everything were of Anglo background. So the structure of the cultural milieu, the background is actually English. So we kind of, especially with the media and everything, we know kind of our ears are more attuned to the English language. We speak it all the time. So English names come to us more easily than ethnic names. Because the thing is, if you want to talk about complaints about that, I could talk about that because people have butchered my name nonstop since I started going to school.
Jerry?
Yeah, that's a hard name. No, Malauskas. I mean, he was a molasses, mollusk.
Was that one S or two S's?
Exactly.
Sorry, and I was part of that, actually.
Well, I know, but here's the deal. But making the point is that somebody actually in their breakout sessions actually claimed that she felt very kind of put upon, or that she felt made to feel uncomfortable by the fact that people were not getting her name or pronouncing it properly. And I think she had a Spanish name that I think was, and I don't remember if it was. I think it might have been it looked like Virgin, but it's like she's the Virgin, but nobody has to say Virgin or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's like, well, I could be getting that totally wrong, but it was like they don't know how to pronounce my Spanish name. Well, okay, but if you were around other people that spoke Spanish as their main language or understood, they would get it. But we speak English,
right?
So, it's not a sign of disrespect to not understand a person's name or even necessarily bias against them if they just don't know how to pronounce your name properly if they haven't run across it.
Right. Nothing personal.
Yeah, but it was kind of... what I saw about this sort of stuff is that it was just making mountains out of molehills. It's like slights, social slights, whatever, were turned into like these kind of examples of cultural insensitivity and bias against people, and it really was nothing like that. And a lot of the people that I talked to about it afterwards, they did not have a good feeling about this particular
module session.
Yeah, session. They did not like it at all. Thank you for giving me the words. I was losing it. Anyway,
wow. All right.
It goes even more interesting, but I know you don't have any more time for that.
Yeah, we could make a whole separate...
Oh, my God. Don't even get me started.
Well, this is our social justice warrior commentary expert, Jerry Malauskas. Thanks for coming to the studio here. We're going to take a little lighter diversion here, just slightly here. We're going to come back and wrap this up before we head out on the road here. Just coming in here on the hotline, Baba Ganesh from India with his latest installment. I'm so excited to hear what's coming here. I have no idea what this is. Hello, everybody. This is Baba Ganesh. And it is time again for another episode of Baba Blue. And once again, like last time, please make sure that the kitties are tucked away. This is not for young ears. After a long night of lovemaking, the young guy rolled over and was looking around the room when he noticed a picture frame of another man on a desk in the distance. Naturally, the guy began to worry. "Is this your husband?" he inquired nervously. "No, silly," she replied, snuggling up to him. "Well, is it your boyfriend then?" "No, not at all," she said, nibbling away at his ear. "Well then, who is he?" demanded the bewildered guy. Calmly, the girl replied, "That is me before the operation." Little Johnny was playing in his room when his dad walked in and explained that he and his mom were getting a divorce. "Why, Daddy?" asked a confused little Johnny. "Well, son," he explained, "your mother and I are no longer in love." Now, even more confused, little Johnny asked, "What does being in love mean?" "Well, let me give you an example, son. Love is when a husband rushes home from a long day at work to embrace and kiss his wife at the door. Your mommy and I have lost that love." "But Daddy, I see mommy getting excited lots of times right when you get home. So she must still be in love with you." "I don't understand, son. When has your mother recently been excited when I arrive home from work?" "Well, sometimes when mommy is sleeping in bed with the neighbor and you pull into the driveway, she shouts at the top of her lungs, 'My husband's home! My husband's home!'" When the math professor's wife returns home from work, she finds an envelope on the living room table. She opens it
and finds a letter from her husband. My dearest wife, we have been married for nearly 30 years, and I still love you as much as on the day I proposed. You must realize, however, that you are now 54 years old and are no longer able to satisfy certain needs that I still have. I very much hope that you are not hurt to learn that. While you are reading this, I am in a hotel room with an 18-year-old freshman girl from my calculus class. I will be home before midnight. Your husband, who will never stop loving you. When the professor returns from the hotel shortly before midnight, he also finds an envelope in the living room. He opens it and reads, My beloved husband, you may recall that you too are 54 years old and are no longer able to satisfy certain needs that I still have. I thus hope that you are not hurt to learn that while you are reading this, I am in a hotel room with the 18-year-old pool boy. Signed, your loving wife. P.S. As a mathematician, you are certainly aware of the fact that 18 goes into 54 many more times than 54 goes into 18. Therefore, do not stay up and wait for me. And that is Baba Blue. Have a good evening.
What a rascal.
What do you think of the new What do you think of the new Baba?
The blue Baba?
Oh my, he's come a long way from the camel joke days, huh?
I'll tell you what, I think he's getting hotter than some of the sauces that he would prepare at his restaurant.
Yeah, that was hot music.
Yeah, I was getting excited about that a little bit.
Oh, thank you, Baba, wherever you are. If you're hearing this, we appreciate your ongoing creativity into the show.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here in the studio and take the equipment. Let's see how the remote equipment does on the road. We're going to go see our good friend Dave Jackson, Smorgasbord co-host since 1982 and frequent co-host on this show. Thanks, Jerry, for coming out to the studio. We'll have you back in a few weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, no problemo.
Okay. SmorgShow. Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to read this wonderful little poem.
Okay.
It's not very long at all. It's actually less than a paragraph. And it's something I want to share with your audience.
Sure.
And it goes out to all of them.
It's your audience, too.
Well, but it's still more your audience because you've cultivated them more over the years than I have. But I just wanted to wish your audience, and you as well, Chris, may cherry blossoms roll all over your path. May all your sweet dreams come true. May each and every Monday be like another Sunday. May the skies be blue for you. My love, may the skies be blue for you. And that's from Bluebird.
Oh, that was beautiful. Actually, I just forgot that we do have something to play in transition, because we have to actually get to the venue. So we're going to play another installment. I forgot this was sitting in the queue. Geoffrey Gleason, he's taken some time off. Remember our resident tech guy? Well, he's here to give you some advice on something related to tech. So sit back and enjoy. When we get back, we will be live with Dave. Thanks.
Hi, this is Geoffrey Gleason, and this is Geoffrey Gleason Tech Talk. Welcome back to Geoffrey Gleason Tech Talk. I'm Geoffrey Gleason, and I'm going to answer listener mail. This letter comes from a listener who says, Geoffrey, how can I tell if I'm addicted to my cell phone? Well, listener, there are many ways to tell if you're addicted to your cell phone, and I've written down just a few that I'd like to share. First, have you ever looked at your clock on your phone to check the time, but then you immediately forgot? Well, we've all been there. You open your screen to check what time it is, and then forget as soon as it goes dark again, so you have to look again. You're so used to glancing at your phone that it becomes a habit, rather than an actual way to gain information. Next, your phone is your security blanket. You're waiting for your meeting to start, so instead of making small talk with your coworkers, you stare intently at your phone, going through all those unimportant emails that you purposely ignored before. Quit turning to your cell phone during awkward situations. Boost your confidence by forcing yourself to work the room. Talk to people. Those face-to-face interactions will be way more satisfying than scrolling through Twitter. Next, is your phone always on you? Of course, you wouldn't be so rude as to start texting when you're out for dinner, but you still leave your phone in your pocket or on the table, even though it's on silent, where you can see it. Separation anxiety could be a major sign that you should take a break from your relationship with your phone. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, after all. Next, you lose track of time scrolling. You pull up your phone to look up one thing just really quick, but then suddenly you've wasted half an hour scrolling through your Twitter feed. Set a timer to limit screen time if you find yourself getting distracted easily. Turn off all your notifications and you'll be much more productive. Next, do you always carry your charger? Don't blame a poor battery for your phone's short life. If it's already drained and it's only halfway through the day, you're probably spending more time than you think on battery-sucking apps. Leave the screen black so it doesn't have to work so hard to keep up with your demands. Next, does a low battery give you a heart attack? Just because your phone hits 20% doesn't mean you're about to be left lost and abandoned with no way to reach your family and friends. Resist the urge to run for your charger or ask everyone around you if you can borrow one, and take it as a sign that you should take a breather from your screen. Next, do you keep checking for notifications? No, you didn't feel your phone vibrate, but you still double-check to make sure you didn't miss a message in the last 10 minutes since you last looked. Sorry, but that's just wishful thinking. Next, similar to the last one, phantom vibrations can haunt you. Convincing yourself that you felt your phone vibrate when it never went off could be your mind looking for an excuse to check your cell phone. So say no to the temptation to address every notification immediately. Phantom vibrations is a serious mental illness. You can actually feel vibrations and then you look at your phone and there's nothing there. So check this out with your doctor if this has happened to you. Next, are you a distracted driver? We know you're not supposed to look down at your phone when you're behind the wheel. Yes, even at red lights. Even in long, straight stretches. In the 5 seconds it takes to send a text, your car could have traveled the length of a football field. We promise your friend can wait 15 minutes until you get home for your answer. Next, you still don't know the way to your favorite store. Did you ever put on your GPS where it tells you to turn in 250 feet? We all know how to get where we're going. We used to before. Why do we rely on the GPS? Next, do you think about life in terms of social media? Yes, your perfect swirl of soft serve or that beautiful slice of cheesecake would make a stunning picture on Instagram. But that ice cream is also melting down your arm, while your ice cream parlor outing turns into an over-the-top photo shoot. Lock the moment to memory by enjoying the time with your family rather than documenting every second of what you eat. Next, your phone is the first and last thing you see every day. I've heard that people often get married so that they can wake up to their spouse every day, but a screen doesn't give that same cuddly feelings as your partner. The bright light that your phone gives off could trigger alertness that keeps you wide-eyed even after you've tossed it on your bedside table. Another way to know if you're addicted to your cell phone is that you hate unanswered questions. You know when you look at your messages app and there's a button with a number and it says like 8 and it's like 8 unanswered messages? You just can't stand that and you have to check. That's a sign of addiction. And finally, is your phone your bathroom reader? Chances are you really don't need to pull out your phone during every potty break. If you do, you just might be addicted. And this is Geoffrey Gleason Tech Talk.
All right, thank you, Mr. Geoffrey Gleason. We are now, through the magic of telepathy, telephony, we have transported ourselves over to the old radio station, and we've picked up Dave along the way. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, I'm back here. I'm in the back. I'm just hanging out in the back here.
We're in the Smorgmobile. We are live on Prince Street, which is where we used to park our car when we would go to the radio station. And for lack of a better place to hang out, because, I don't know, we had talked up how this bit was going to be at the beginning of this show, because we've already recorded 45 minutes of it.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, we're going to be at a blues bar. It's going to be so cool. And here we are in front of the high school.
Plans fell through.
But we got you, which is the important thing. So how you doing, Dave?
Oh, a little bit of this, a little of that.
What you been up to since we were last together, which I think was back in, I don't know, springtime. So.
Yeah, wow, it's been that long? Well, I've been working, doing some editing kind of stuff, and been seeing some live music again. It's been a while since I've done that, so that's been fun. And going to see some great music tonight, too. John Primer.
Tell me about him.
He is blues man who came to Chicago in about the 60s, and he's played with everyone and everywhere. And I've seen him play a couple of times. He used to play with Magic Slim and the Teardrops, if that rings a bell. He used to lead the house band at a band called the Checkerboard and Teresa's on the south side of Chicago. And then he played for Muddy Waters for the last 3 years. He was in Muddy's band for 3 years.
So we're talking early 80s then.
Yeah. And then came the Magic Slim,
Uh-huh.
whom I just mentioned. And then now he's under his own name, solo act. And I think he's got about 13 albums out or so.
And
so looking forward to.
So how did you get
that again.
So you're doing an interview with him? Is that still happening?
Yeah. I had to contact his management. This has been a very complicated process because I'm very new. I've been doing editing for a few years, but I haven't done a lot of recording, camera work. So I had this idea, well, okay, John Primer is coming to town, and I'm going to go out there tonight with a fellow videographer, or he is already a videographer. I'm like a videographer in training. And I said, hey, why don't we just record this show? Let's just get some cameras out there, do a 2-camera recording of the whole night, because most blues videos, and this could be true of other genres too, but they're usually just one camera, and the production quality is usually pretty terrible, and you see them on Facebook most of the time.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a project that I'm going to edit together, a 2-camera job. It will have a direct feed coming from the console, so the sound will be good. And then I'm just letting the band have that, because what am I going to do with it? I'm going to use it for demo tape purposes and all that.
Yeah.
But other than that, what can I do with it? They said, well, maybe we can sell it. They might do that, they might not, I don't know. But if they do, then. But the thing with the selling part is, then I had to come up with some sort of contract, and I'm no lawyer. But I had to do a little research here and find some legal forms.
Yeah.
And I had to make it clear that the only people who'd be allowed to sell a video would be the band. And then I'm also giving a copy to the venue, the bar, Johnny's Blitz in Westmont. They're going to get a copy to use for promotion. And then I'm using it for promotion as well. So, but I had to make it clear that only the band had the option to sell the video. So my whole purpose was to do something nice and for free.
Yeah.
And it turned into this nightmare.
That you should be paid for it at this point.
Yeah, it feels like that, but I mean, I'm sticking true to my original goal and intention.
Yeah.
Which was to do this project, get something good, make it look nice, do a nice intro for it and all that, and then say, here you go, So it's been a process, I'll tell you.
Well, if it's something that you're able to give over for another episode of the podcast, certainly would take that, but
see how it works out.
Yeah, it's just as long as no. Well, it would be. You mean the whole concert? Because that would
No.
Well, you mean the interview?
Just the interview.
Oh, the interview's fine. No,
Yeah.
the interview is just for the podcast. So
Yeah.
I'm doing that.
Maybe we
for
can
us.
roll it into like a next episode or
I
something.
mean, it's possible it might end up as an extra on the DVD that comes out.
Okay.
But
Yeah, see how it works out.
that
We'll
part's
see how
for
we're going to
us.
use it.
And then I'm thinking about possibly producing a special with his songs in there and everything. Now, there may be some issues with putting that online with the streaming
Yeah.
laws and all that. I'm not perfectly clear on that one,
Okay.
but it could end up on YouTube possibly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll be honest. I don't know how long I'm going to last today because Jerry. First of all, you know my bedtime schedule is usually like 9:30.
Don't you blame me about that.
9:30. I'm up by 5 every day. And last night Jerry kept me out until 2.
Liar,
2:30.
liar, pants on fire. I was ready to go to bed. You're the one. Hey, let's watch one more video.
No, it wasn't me.
Oh, really? Okay. We'll see how that goes.
Anyway, and then I can't sleep past, normally I can't sleep past 6, but going to bed at 3, I was able to sleep till about 8. Jerry's up sleeping till noon. So, anyway.
Well, no, Jerry has that other life.
He's got another life. Yeah, he's got the other
Yeah, he's got that nightlife.
nocturnal thing. I mean, you worked the night shift for many years, so you're used to it. But my body is already starting to feel it. And we went for an Indian buffet, and and I'm not feeling the love down here. I'm starting to feel the gurgling going on right now. So I don't know. We'll see how the afternoon progresses from here. So what time does some of the music start at least?
I think they're getting underway at 8:30.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll just hang out as long as we can.
But I'll drive separately so then you can
Just take off.
whenever you
And
want.
Jerry will take the train back to the city.
Take off.
Yeah. So here we are. It's actually a year ago this weekend that we were here for the reunion. I can't believe it's been a year already.
Wow.
Amazing. Next weekend, supposedly, is my 35th high school graduation reunion down at the Loyal Order of Moose. What is
I used to play baseball.
The Moose Lodge?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't decided whether I'm going yet, but I really don't want to see anybody. I haven't kept in touch with anybody. Why would I start now? And everybody that I was hanging out with and friends with went to a different class like you guys, or in your case, a different school, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, oh, jeez.
Well, here,
You're my belly.
Oh, here it
it's
comes.
the-
No, the question to everyone in the car here, all three of us, who's actually been to their high school reunion?
I went to the 10, which was worthless because no one does anything at 10. You've either gone to school or you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Then I skipped the 20,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a grassroots organized one, like through Facebook for the 25th. It was just going down to Emmett's pub in Downers Grove, and you didn't have to pay. You just showed up, and people were hanging out, and I just checked in with people and ran into a couple people that Daryl was there, but that's it. I don't think any of those formal class reunion outfits are even around anymore because anybody can organize these things now with Facebook, and I'm sure you didn't.
I did not go to any of the reunions because when I got out of high school, I said, there ain't no looking back. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm free. So, what about you, Dave?
I have not been to a reunion either. So last year, coming to the radio station reunion, to me that was
something.
that reunion feeling, that experience. Those are the people I really wanted to see again, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that made more sense. I felt more connected there to something than the regular.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too.
So we'll see. If
But
I
through
go,
the
it's
magic of Facebook, there are some people that I connected with that I probably thought I'd never would see again, and then I realized either you get a Facebook request or you see somebody on there and you go, oh yeah, we used to joke around back in class or whatever. And then you remember some people that you might have wanted to actually run into at a reunion,
Yeah.
but didn't. It's like I forgot about those people because so much time had passed
Yeah.
for a while.
Well, like I said, we had already put 45 minutes into the show, and this is already 10 minutes onto it. So I think it's going to be time to wrap this episode up. If we decide to do another thing, we'll start up another episode. But this is episode 107. Let's turn it back over to Stu Smiley in the studio.
I love the acoustics inside this little studio here. It's nice.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very...
It sounds like you're in a sound booth. The sound is very dead sounding.
Oh, okay.
Well, sound booth with wheels.
It's not like you're in a large room. It's a very, you
Yeah.
can tell we're in a car or in some sort of padded cell.
Yeah. We're in the Honda Odyssey, for those wanting to get a visual.
This reminds me of a story
Yeah?
of the, there was a girl I dated named Cynthia. I don't know if we've talked about her before or anything like that. But I remember one weekend, she needed to bring her grandmother down to Mississippi. And we were taking her mom's car. She didn't have her own car. And we drove all the way down to Clarksdale, Mississippi in a Honda Odyssey. And drove back up the same weekend. It was the craziest trip I think I'd been in quite a while. And it was like this grandmother was really old and just was like was out of it. So it was, but yeah, I remember also stopping in Memphis at that time. I went to I don't know which one did this to me, but I went to a Sonic and I went to a Waffle House.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got back to Chicago, I had the worst case of food poisoning.
Oh, boy.
So I'm trying to figure out which one it
You don't
is.
know
I
which
think
one.
I think it's the Waffle House.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's awful. That is the worst feeling.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah. All right, this has been the SmorgShow Podcast with Chris, Dave, and Jerry, and we're going to turn it back over to the studio. Stu, take it away.
The SmorgShow Podcast.